final when Judd Trump
six.
PTC of the season. He played in. It was 4-0 in the second, and then as we've seen, and very disappointingly for him, he was beaten in the last 16 of the which is just north of Stoke-on-Trent in the English Midlands. And then he beat
28.
Murphy 4-2, making a century break en route. But he won 2 qualifying
36.
matches to make the last 32 of the Gardenia Open, which was played a couple of weeks ago. Over there in Poland, he overcame the likes of Jamie Jones, Martin Gould, Tian Peng Fei, Stephen Maguire, and then in the final beat Jamie Burnett 4-3, that after leading 3-0. So he won 7 matches in the Gardenia Open,
43.
looking to win his 5th match in this tournament.
44.
And I think we can safely say he's won the first frame of this contest.
$51. 52. $57. $58.
Now, there's enough on the table here for Robertson to make a century.
$65. $66. $73. $74.
Again, a ridiculous bounce. These cushions are so
79.
inconsistent.
Neil Robertson 79 and the first frame.
No century, but nevertheless a very agreeable start for Neil Robertson. Andrew Pagett doesn't pot a single ball in the opener. Robertson with a break of 79 swiftly takes a 1-0 lead. Happy to get off to a good start, but not happy with the way the table's playing. Sorry to sound like a broken record, but it really is a problem I think we're going to see as the day progresses. I noticed it particularly in the last couple of matches last night. The Doc Williams game, neither player could get to grips. I suppose you could say pretty much the same thing about Higgins Carter first up this morning. So what about the other quarter-finals? Well, you can see Carter and Perry have just begun their match right at the start of the first frame. Carter's on a blue at the moment in the middle pocket. Mark Allen, he's taking on Ben Wollaston across the arena on the opposite side of the Lotto Auditorium. They're in the early stages of frame one as well. And in a few moments, Mark Selby will begin against
Thank you,
Marco
the second
Fu.
frame. Neil Robertson to break.
Years of age, Andrew Pagett, from Newport in Wales, which is now the traditional home of the Welsh Open. On his website, he describes himself as the Welsh Wizard. Well, I think that might be exaggerating somewhat. Practice partner of Mark Williams. And of course that great achievement on his CV, qualifying for the Crucible last year when he beat Zhang Anda Bjorn Hanne there from right here in Belgium, actually. Nigel Bond, and then in the final qualifying round, Andrew Higginson. Pagett actually gave a good account of himself at the Crucible, losing only 10-7 to Jamie Cope.
One. Three.
Went for the plant, overcooked it.
Andrew Pagett. 3.
Plays out of the Tredegar Snooker Centre. And the town of Tredegar has got a real place in snooker history because that was where Cliff Wilson, former world amateur champion, and Ray Reardon both emerged from. And the allegiance to one player or the other basically split the town. Reardon went on to move to the Midlands. Instead of being a coal miner, he became a policeman and then eventually a professional snooker player. Won 6 world titles. Wilson basically retired from the game before his time. And still a very young man when he hung up his cue originally. It was only when the game became immensely popular in the late 70s, early 80s, he was persuaded to start playing again. And incredibly, in his 40s, he got into the top 16. Ray Reardon was 80, by the way, recently. Looks good on it. Cliff Wilson sadly passed away a few years ago. But they were both phenomenal players. Wilson, a lot more of a flair, attacking kind of player. Reardon, a tremendous tactician.
Five.
By the way, there wasn't much of a break for Mark Selby after beating Paul Davison 4-3 on the stroke of noon, British time, 1 o'clock here in Antwerp. I thought he might be given 10-15 minutes to settle down and reinvigorate himself for the quarterfinals. As it is, he's straight back out there, taking on Marco Fu. The first frame has begun. No frames on the board yet in the other quarterfinals, although it does look as though Mark Allen will take a 1-0 lead over Ben Wollaston. Allen currently on a break of 65 in their opener.
13. 19. 20. 27. 28. 35. 36.
Neil Robertson, 8th in the world rankings at the moment. Andrew Pagett, of course, unranked because he's not on the tour anymore. Lost his place at the end of last season. Oh, what a terrible kick encountered by Robertson again there. Every so often, the table just throws them a curveball.
$43.
Another inch on the white ball there of travel, and the pot on the red would have been quite simple. As it is, although it looks okay, this is a really deceptive angle. Robertson can pot it across the top cushion, but it takes an awful lot of accuracy. Lovely.
44.
But the points he's earned from this tournament so far, Andrew Pagett has climbed to 38th
51.
on the Players Tour Championship Order of Merit. As Robertson pots
53.
2 reds for the price of 1. Robertson currently is 3rd on the Order of Merit, but he could possibly end the day right at the very top, certainly if he captures the title. Now I think the pink will spot, yes, thankfully for
59.
Robertson, so he can get through to this red, but he's still not happy. Got a bad reaction off the pink. It straightened, he knew it had kicked, and in the end I think he was relieved to see it actually go into the pocket. Oh, super pot, it really was. And now Robertson just needs this relatively simple black. In it goes, and 2-0 is beckoning.
$67. 68. 72. Neil Robertson 72
Well, Neil
in the
Robertson
second frame.
is stuck in the 70s. Not in a fashion sense. For the first two frames, he's made breaks of 79 and there 72. He leads Andrew Pagett 2-0. You might have heard a burst of applause from the adjoining table here. That's because Ali Carter has just taken a 1-0 lead over Joe Perry, and I believe it was with a century break. Mark Allen also off to a flyer against Ben Wollaston. Allen 1, Wollaston 0. And it looks as though Mark Selby is going to take the first frame against Marco Fu. Currently he's on a break of 42, and he leads by 62 points with only 4 reds and therefore 59 points on the table. So it appears here at the Antwerp Open that the big guns are beginning to fire. By the way, it's Selby or Fu against Carter or Perry. Robertson, should he come through, will play either Allen or Wollaston. The semi-finals are due to begin at 3 o'clock British time. That's 4 o'clock Central European.
Into the third frame.
And the
Andrew
final,
Pagett to break.
8 o'clock Central European time, 7 o'clock British.
One.
Well, how about that? An unusual fluke. Only worth 1 point, though.
Neil Robertson. One.
No remorse from Robertson, just laying the snooker in behind the brown. And although that shot looks quite simple, on these fast cloths it isn't. Thankfully for Andrew Pagett, the pack was still pretty close, still pretty tightly knit, and so leaving a red
Touch and will.
wasn't exactly likely. There won't be any letting up from Neil Robertson. He's won too many of these PTC events. He knows exactly what the final day is all about. If you can win your early matches relatively comfortably, it gives you more recovery time between contests. Selby might be okay at the moment, but after that very lengthy opening match against Paul Davison, if he doesn't beat Marco Fu easily, he'll go into his semi-final vulnerable to being more than a little fatigued. Whereas Robertson, if he can win this one 4-0, 4-1, will probably have an hour and a half to rest and recuperate. Not physically so much, but mentally.
Foul. And the miss. Neil Robertson 4.
Well, I'm not surprised he's having the cue ball back here. He got Pagett in not a small amount of trouble.
Yeah, sorry. Thanks. I couldn't see that. Yep.
Well, this time contact made on the red, but it's been left to the middle pocket.
One. Six.
I think open plan arenas are
Neil
tremendous.
Robertson.
I think they're a really
6.
good addition to the sport. The one drawback is that sometimes when applause occurs from another table, it can be off-putting for a player who's over a shot, and I think Robertson was affected there by the applause coming from table 2.
One. Six. Seven.
Well, Paget's scoring time at the table in the first 2 frames consisted of a single red
14.
plus a yellow. The
15.
situation a lot more promising.
$22. $23. $30. $31. 38. 39.
'Well, that was a pretty good split. Didn't deserve to go in off, certainly. And now here, this is an opportunity to win the frame.
46.
Having spent so much of the last couple of frames sitting down, this is a really good effort.
$47. 52. 53.
Well, if you thought that Andrew Pagett was going to be a walkover, I think you might
59.
have to revise your opinion. He's taken these beautifully.
$60.
Still work to do, though. If he pots the pink, he'll be 55 ahead with 59 on, which means one more red required.
$66. 67.
And now a definite possibility of a century.
74.
I think it would be his first on TV. Oh, and just as I say that,
Andrew Pagett, 74.
nevertheless, a 74 break. And Andrew Pagett contributes to what's so far been a pretty high quality match. Breaks of 79 and 72 took Neil Robertson into a 2-0 lead. And a run of 74 here should have taken Pagett back to 2-1. Robertson carrying on even though he needs 3 snookers.
One.
What Robertson is working on is a snooker that
8.
yields a free ball. If he got a 4-point penalty snooker that gave a free ball, if he potted the free ball with a black and then all of the colours, he would force
Neil
a
Robertson.
respotted black.
8.
But he's not going to do it with shots like that.
One.
Well, it's frame over now.
Andrew Pagett, 1 in the frame.
74 break doing the trick. Neil Robertson still in front. Now, though, he leads the amateur by only 2 frames to 1. Interesting stuff so far. As for the other quarterfinals, well, Ali Carter is 1-0 up on Joe Perry. The second frame very much in the balance with 4 reds left. It's 1-0 to Mark Allen over Ben Wollaston. Wollaston, though, 45 in front with 4 reds left in the second frame there. And I'm not quite sure what's happening in the Mark Selby-Marco Fu match. They're on table 4, and that scoreboard has been playing up all week. So I think the live scoring there might have just ceased to work. I think it's fair to assume that Selby is in a 1-0 lead, because when the scoreboard went kaput, Fu needed snookers. Well, Neil Robertson has worn a scowl on his face for much of the match. I think that's to do with the fact he doesn't particularly feel at home on the table.
Thank you, frame 4.
Even so, though, breaks of
Neil
79
Robertson's
and 72 have been responsible for him winning the first 2 frames. And now he wants to power on into a 3-1 lead. I can tell you now officially it is 1-0 Selby over Fu.
One.
Just tried to flick the red away from the black. To open up the black. As it is, no contact made at all. But second prize might be position on the pink. It is.
Seven.
Now the black is freed, but we've seen on a number of occasions during this tournament that this particular shot into this particular pocket is not easy. Pinged it, Robertson did. Pinged it.
$15. $16.
That's the scene here. This big bank of spectators on the left-hand side of your screen get to see 3 matches simultaneously. If they're watching the main match table, they're also seeing a lot of
23.
very dull contacts, semi-kicks. It's a really good crowd in, as it was last year when Trump played O'Sullivan in that memorable final.
Neil Robertson, 23.
Well, making
Foul.
contact with the
Andrew
green
Pagett,
was
4.
bad enough, but actually running off, that was really loose from Neil Robertson, who made a very good start to the match. Breaks of 79 and 72, but in the last couple of frames, he started to look a wee bit ragged.
1. Six. Seven. 12. 13.
Another good recovery pot from Andrew Pagett. I think he's acquitting himself pretty well so far.
Sixteen. 17. 22. 23.
Score update for you on table 3. Mark Allen and Ben Wollaston have shared the first 2 frames. Allen winning the first, Wollaston replying. Ali Carter
30.
still 1-0 up on Joe Perry on table 2. Carter 12 points ahead with the colours on in the second frame.
31. 38. 39. 40. 45. 46.
'Well, how about this? Andrew Pagett giving
53.
as good as he gets.
54.
The amateur from Blackwood, which is near Newport in Wales, very much on course for 2-2.
$61. 62. 68. 69.
'Well, I can honestly say I didn't foresee this coming at all. At 2-0, I thought Robertson was going to steamroller Pagett. Anything but.
$71. 72. 79.
Well, on 74 in the previous
Pagett,
frame,
79 and fresh.
first televised entry. Missed the red to the middle pocket there on a break of 79, missed the yellow off its spot. Nevertheless, Andrew Pagett is doing the main job. He's full level with Neil Robertson at 2 frames each. And a statistical quirk here, in all 4 frames, we've seen a 70-plus break made, and they've stopped in the 70s. Good stuff, and the possibility of a considerable shock. Just looking around the arena here, you can see that the Ali Carter Joe Perry table is being re-racked for the start of the 3rd frame. Carter won the 2nd on the colours. So Ali Carter 2, Joe Perry 0. Mark Allen and Ben Wollaston, they're in the early stages of the 3rd frame, the first 2 having been shared. And Mark Selby has taken a 1-0 lead over Marco Fu. Here's the match stats. Robertson spotted more balls and scored more points. His pot success rate and his safety success rate is better, as is his potting from distance. But the main statistic is that Andrew Pagett has 2 frames on the board. Robertson is far too experienced to panic, but he will be very annoyed with this particular shot. It was a sloppy safety. Apart from the in-off, he shouldn't have hit the green anyway. And that's the opening that allowed Pagett to the table for the 79 break, with which he drew level. As I said before, these PTCs can be an avenue for players to regain their place on the circuit for next year. The amateurs who enter them, Joe Swale, by reaching the final of a PTC earlier this season, he's pretty much guaranteed his place back on the main circuit for the 2013-2014 campaign. And if Andrew Pagett can win this match, he might be about to do exactly the same. Way it works this, by the way, Pagget or Robertson will play Allen or Wollaston. Selby or Fu will play Carter or Perry. Neil Robertson, the winner of 6 world ranking events. That's major ranking events, the last of which was the 2010 World Open, 6 months after he won the World Championship. And last season, in Ireland and in Poland, he won 2 PTCs. And he's already won a PTC so far this season, so if he goes on to capture the title here today, that would be 4 of these tournaments won, and that's no mean achievement. 128 players thrown in, all best of 7 frame matches, which leaves the top seeds a little more vulnerable than the extended frame matches.
Thank you, frame 5.
First though,
Andrew Pagett to
he's
break.
got to see off the considerable challenge being posed by Andrew Pagett. In 2011, when Pagett qualified for the Crucible, his practice partner and good mate Mark Williams said some rather unkind things about him in a joking kind of way. Said he was the worst player ever to appear at the Crucible. Well, I can tell you that's completely not true. He isn't the worst player and nowhere near it. And from what we've seen so far here, remember he beat Stuart Bingham in the last 32. Pagett looks to be playing the snooker of his life, certainly in terms of his professional career. Crunching pot from Robertson, but for no immediate return. Black-wone pot, and so the only choice is safety.
Neil Robertson, 1.
Mark Selby 2-0 up on Marco Fu, having struggled for any kind of fluency in his first match today against Paul Davison. Selby has just knocked in the century break. 116, I believe it was. So Selby 2, Fu 0. Oh, terrible bounce again. Terrible, just explosive. Hit the cushion and just took off. That's why the cue ball has gone into bulk and right back out again.
One.
Well, Pagget can't get through to pot the pink, but the blue is available.
Andrew Pagget. One.
Of course, now he's back in the match, the pressure increases. Didn't cue that one all that smoothly.
One.
Very nice pot from Robertson.
Seven.
Not a great reward though, is it? Cue ball a little too close to the one red he wanted to pot. Does have one to the middle, but even that's no bargain. Two straight. I think there's some kind of angle there, but not a great deal.
$13.
In the middle of where he wanted to be. Not far enough for one red, too far for the other.
Neil Robertson. 13.
I can tell you over on table 3, Ben Wollaston the PTC It's looking good for Ali Carter on table 2 in frame 3 against Joe Perry. Carter already 2-0 ahead. On a 56 break in the third frame, needs one more red to leave Perry requiring a snooker. So 3-0 close at hand there.
Foul. Andrew Pagett 4.
Well, remember in the previous frame, it was a sloppy enough from Robertson that allowed Pagett to the table for that 79 break. This one isn't going to be quite as destructive. Still, though, an unforced error, unlike Robertson.
One.
Very good indeed from Pagett. Not just the pot, but look how he held the cue ball for the pink.
Seven. Eight. Thirteen.
The applause you heard, by the way, greeted Ali Carter taking a 3-0 lead over Joe Perry, and I believe he did that with a century break. I'll let you know the precise details in a moment.
Fourteen.
Yes, it was a run of 109 from Carter.
Andrew Pagett 14.
Out of position, no point in taking a pot on for a few extra points. He's played a good safety as well. He was an overwhelming favourite before a ball was potted. playing in front of the television cameras, and yet Pagett, with breaks of 74 and 79, is drawn level, and now he fancies the job, justifiably so.
Robertson,
Points, well, I suppose. Well, it's a tight squeeze.
one.
Had to play that with left-hand side to flick the red in. Couldn't do anything ambitious positionally, and so this ping to the middle pocket is a real old pressure ball. Nicely played, but could have done with
7.
maybe 2 or 3 more inches of roll on the cue ball. one of Robertson's greatest assets, temperament. Realised the importance of this frame when it began and just buckled down.
$11. Neil Robertson.
Well, I think from
11.
his reaction he got a kick again there. It did seem to straighten up, didn't it? Hit the red into the thick jaw, as it were. Yes. Oh, undoubtedly a kick. The referee cleaning the white as well. Mr. Robertson, there is nothing you can do about that.
One.
Well, Pagett was at his stretching limit there, just about reached the shot okay without the use of the extension. Played
7.
it really nicely. And if he can develop the two reds here to the left of the black, who knows?
Andrew
Well, they were
Pagget,
developed, but
7.
the pot wasn't completed. The only solace there for Andrew Pagett, at least he's left awkward queuing.
1. Six.
Another terrible reaction. This table is playing so irritatingly because you never know when these kicks are going to occur, when these abnormal reactions are going to occur. Add to that the springy bounce off certain cushions at certain times, and you're placing a whole series of imponderables in a player's mind. And uncertainty often equals inaccuracy in snooker.
$14.
The break goes to 14. Robertson's lead goes to 26. So he will need the awkward red.
15.
$34 points the difference, 35 on the
22.
table. So Robertson just needs to slot in the last red down the side cushion to regain the lead.
23. $30. 32. 35. Neil Robertson, 35 in the frame.
25 points to Green after Andrew Pagget missed the right to a shot in the pocket, maybe concentrating too hard on a positional cannon. And so Neil Robertson, who flew into a 2-0 lead, finds himself back in front again. This time he leads the Welsh amateur by 3 frames to 2, one more needed for a place in the semi-finals. Interesting developments over on table 3, where Ben Wollaston has just produced a 45 clearance, I believe it was, to snatch the 4th frame on the black from Mark Allen. Ben Wollaston leads 3-1 there. How about that? Ali Carter now leads Joe Perry 3-1. Perry dominated the 4th frame. Making a sizable break, certainly in the 80s, maybe a little more than that. The slowest moving of the 4 quarter-finals is Mark Selby against Marco Fu. Currently 2-0 to Selby. Nothing to choose between them in frame number 3 early on. So Andrew Pagget making a rare appearance on TV, although he was in front of the television cameras at the Crucible in April 2011. That was the highlight of his career so far. This shot, not a highlight. Tried to develop the 2 reds, and thinking too heavily about them, overcut the pot. And by doing so, has he missed the boat? .82 balls potted for Robertson, 55 from Pagget. Robertson's pot success rate is quite good actually, 92%. Safety success, 80%, not really top notch, and maybe that's why he's dropped a couple of frames. Robertson's potting from distance is much better than average. And if you can tuck this one away, have an hour or so off, I think he'll come back into the semi-finals as an extremely difficult man to beat. The semi-finals, by the way, come your way at 3 o'clock British time. That's 4 o'clock Central European in around 90 minutes time. And if you're wondering about our next snooker here on LiveWorldSnooker.tv, well, it's a very big event indeed. It's the China International, the International Championship in Chengdu in the People's Republic. It's a 9-day tournament beginning next Sunday. And in terms of the session times, well, the first session every day is 6:30 British time, 7:30 Central European. 8 wildcards will be on display. 32 players off the main world ranking event circuit will join them, and they will compete for a total prize fund of £625,000, which is around $1 million.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Frame 6. Neil Robertson to break.
And the winner will receive £125,000, which is around $190,000 US, plus massive world ranking points at stake. In fact, the world ranking point tariff for that tournament is exactly equal to the UK Championship, which is also coming your way here on LiveWorldSnooker.tv in December. And I suppose as a sign of its status, the International Championship will have matches right from the wildcard playoff round played over the best of 11 frames, and then the semi-finals are over the best of 17, with the final the best of 19. Interestingly, actually, the semi-finals are being played on separate days, one on Friday, one on Saturday, and then the final in Chengdu 2 weeks today. Neil Robertson wants to win a ranking event in China for the first time. It's something he's wanted to tick off the list for a while now, hasn't been able to do it. At the moment, though, just concentrating on getting to the semi-finals here.
Eight. Nine.
It's a really good snooker city, Antwerp. I remember coming here in the early 90s when the events were played at the
16.
Matchroom Shinport, which is a snooker club
17.
with an auditorium on the side of it. Not too far from the large arena where they used to play the Antwerp tennis. I remember turning up for one event and there were coaches everywhere, just hundreds of them. Couldn't work out what was occurring.
24.
Luciano Pavarotti was singing in concert just up the road from where we were playing the snooker.
25.
And I always remember that night because Jimmy White ran through Dean Reynolds in no time, 5-0. And someone actually said, inadvertently, Jimmy's playing like a symphony orchestra, when in fact there was one just up the road.
32.
We had invitation events in Antwerp, full-scale world ranking events also. The likes of Hendry and Davis captured titles in this town.
Foul.
And there
Neil
you
Robertson,
see
32.
Robertson caught the
Andrew Pagett, 4.
incorrect red first, and that's why he went in off. Wasn't quite sure whether he could get through. Just a glancing blow off the blocking red initially, and although he made the pot, that's why the cue ball found the pocket.
One.
Very good pot from Andrew Pagett. Super. Let me quickly tell you it's going to be 3-0 to Mark Selby over on table 4 against Marco Fu.
8.
In fact, the third frame has just been completed, so officially it is Selby 3, Fu 0.
9.
Well, in frames number 3 and 4,
40.
Pagett took his chance really nicely, breaks of 74 and 79. And this is another really good
15.
scoring opportunity, made possible by that in-off from Robertson.
$21. 22. 29.
I've told you he qualified for the Crucible last year, but if he could beat Neil Robertson here, in terms of furthering his snooker career, you can argue this would be
30.
maybe even a more important victory than the one which took him to the Crucible.
$36. $37.
Of course, it was Robertson's own fault that he caught the incorrect red first. Going in off, though, was a little unlucky. And it looks like being very expensive.
$43. $44.
Well, this is a revelatory performance from Andrew Pagett. Never seen him play as well as this.
$50. $51. $57.
Pagett's third half century of the match.
$58.
And now by potting the black, he'll be 37 in front with 35 on.
$65. $66.
No doubt now we are going to a decider. And twice before I've posed the question, will we see Andrew Pagett's first century on television? Well, there's just enough on here.
73.
Clear the colours to make 100 exactly.
$75. $78. $79. Sorry, 82. 87. 93.
Come on, Andrew, knock it in. Well, he doesn't even try, I'm amazed. Played the exhibition shot. What's all that about?
93 in the frame.
Andrew Pagett, 93 clearance to the pink. Would you believe this scoreline? Neil Robertson, the 2010 World Champion, 3. Andrew Pagett, an amateur from Wales who lost his place on the main World Ranking Event Tour last season, 3 also. Down to a decider. So what about the other quarterfinals? Well, Ali Carter, 3-1 up on Joe Perry, was 3-0 to Carter. Just looking to see actually if Perry made a century break there in the fourth frame. Indeed he did. No, that's incorrect information. In fact, Carter has made 2 century breaks in the match so far, 109 and 104. Perry, though, was certainly in the 80s when he won the fourth frame to avert the whitewash. So Carter 3, Perry 1, right at the start of frame number 5. Mark Selby 3-0 up on Marco Fu. And I do believe that Ben Wollaston is on the verge of beating Mark Allen.
The final frame, Andrew Pagett to break.
Wollaston leading Allen 3-1 after losing the opener. And Allen requiring a couple of snookers with just the colours on the table in frame 5. No cigar for Neil Robertson from distance. The first chance goes to Pagett. Oh, will he live to regret that?
One.
You know, I told you that Mark Allen needed a couple of snookers. Well, would you believe he's got them? And he spotted the yellow as well. Needs the remaining 5 colours in frame number 5 to keep the match alive.
8.
Again,
9.
Awful contact screwing back. It's happened to Robertson time and time again in this match. The balls just seem to be skidding rather than getting any kind of purchase. Well, how about this as the cue ball's cleaned? I can tell you Mark Allen did clear the colours. Required 2 snookers at one point in frame 5. On the brink of defeat. Now, though, he's trailing only 3-2. And Ben Wollaston, having almost got to the line, needs to do it all again.
16.
I'll tell you something else about this
Neil
table
Robertson,
as well.
16.
Apart from the cushion bounce and all of the kicks, that right-hand top pocket is an absolute brute. It's as tight as you like. Well, he got away with that, didn't he, Andrew Pagett? A different kind of kiss on the red as it came down the table, and that could have been left over a top corner. cued that pretty well. Didn't quite pot it though. Has he left the red? Does the red just to the right of the black pot? If it does, it could be a pretty serious mistake by Pagett.
2.
Well, it did pot, but the only way that Robertson could get position was by punching the cue ball through. Now he's just going to be content with safety.
Neil Robertson, 2.
And not exactly a good one, was it? Well, same pocket, same kind of shot, well cued, but not quite accurate enough. Again, has he left the red? I don't think he has, the one that's closest to the black. That needed to be so accurate at that pace. So accurate. That pocket, let me tell you, is so tight.
One. Eight.
Well, this time, Andrew Pagett is the victim of a terrible kick and also a terrible bounce. There's the kick. Look at the bounce. Bump. Onto the cushion and seemingly off it faster than it went on. Just
Andrew
a few
Pagett,
things at the start
9.
of this deciding frame suggest to me that Pagett might win it, you know. Now that seems strange after a miss like that, but he's got away with a couple of things. Went into the reds there quite lustily, and he's left nothing easy at all. The run in the decider so far is with him. As soon as he made contact, he knew he'd hit the red too thin, and he's left the red on. What a mistake. What an error. Anywhere short, anywhere around the baulk line would have been fine. toyed with the idea of potting the black there, going down into
6.
the business end of the table, but the blue was always the best option. Always the percentage option, certainly.
Seven. Neil Robertson.
Again, concentrating on position. Forgot about the pot. There's so many things in this frame that suggest to me that Paget's going to win it. Robertson's had multiple chances, still only 16 points ahead. And he's not seemed happy on the table from the get-go. Well, the standard in the decider has been appreciably lower than any of the other frames. Understandable given the tension, given what's at stake, particularly not so sure at all. Well, the pot's there, but position isn't.
7.
Four chances for Robertson. Total points 32. The adjoining time. So far, Andrew Pagett has played the more like it from Peyton Marker. At 3-3 there. It chances, and you think surely they're going to get over the line, and they don't. All the way through the frame. I've just had a hunch that somehow Paget's going to win it. He's given me no evidence to suggest that's going to be the case so far in the decider. But 6 scoring visits.
Neil Robertson. One.
To Neil Robertson equal 34 points, and he hasn't got the snooker there. A wall of colours to get behind, yellow, pink and brown, and he's not achieved it. Pagett, though, is behind the black. Robertson coming off 2 cushions with a touch of running side, trying to hit one of them turning or trying to bulk. Oh, totally misjudged it. hit the red. He wanted to, but on the incorrect side. And now what an opportunity for Andrew Pagett. Not an awkward ball on the table.
One.
The applause there greets another result. Ali Carter putting his cue away on table 2. Very satisfied. Oh, no, from Andrew. No. Carter very satisfied with a 4-1 win.
4.
Over Joe Perry. Just completed. What a terrible miss. And he's not been directly punished for it. So in the top half of the draw, we know that Mark Selby will play Ali Carter in one semi-final. But what about the bottom half? By the way, if you're wondering about Mark Allen, Ben Wollaston, well, their deciding frame is underway. Allen opened the scoring with a break of 24, which has now reached its conclusion. Well, Pagett has played a terrible deciding frame. How he's still in this, I just don't know.
One.
Super point, wasn't it? Just enough of the red available for Pagett to pot it into the middle pocket straight.
Andrew Pagett. 1.
Now, was that a little clumsy? Has he given Robertson the side cushion to be able to hit, to be able to make contact with this snooker?
Foul. Andrew Pagett.
This feeling
4.
about this frame, I keep telling you, everything's going against Robertson. He's not playing well, he's made mistakes, and the run is now against him also. Surely no, come on. Put the lid on it. Everyone likes to see an underdog do well, but the way that Pagett's played in the deciding frame, he doesn't deserve to get the victory. It's been one mistake after another. That after a match in which he's generally acquitted himself really well with breaks of 74 or 79, and to draw level at 3-3, a run of 93.
One.
Well, still nothing coming easy for Robertson. Far from ideal position. Blue goes to the middle pocket. But is it worth it? Can he get on the yellow in any kind of way?
Neil Robertson, 1.
Not bad, but he's not as tight in behind the black as he might have been.
Foul. And a miss. Neil Robertson, 4.
The blue blocking Robertson's potting path with the yellow to that left-hand ball pocket, and so there was hardly any hesitation, Robertson having the cue ball replaced.
Yeah. Foul. And a miss. Neil Robertson, 4.
Now this time the cue ball has come far enough across the table for Robertson to be able to pop the yellow to the middle, but it's so thin he can't control the cue ball. I think this one is going to go back as well. Robertson now 20 points in front, so Pagett has to make contact with the next 2 escape attempts, otherwise he's going to require a snooker himself.
Andrew? Yep. Foul. And a miss. Neil Robertson, 4.
Well, based on what we've seen before, the cue ball definitely going back again. Now 24 points the difference, so if Pagett doesn't make contact this time, he will need a snooker. The yellow on. I'll tell you what, if he clears up to win on the black, I wouldn't be surprised at all the way this frame's gone. Would not be surprised at all. And here's the chance. Here's the chance. Honestly, I don't know why it is. It's not scientific. But when you've seen so many deciders of this nature, they all seem to follow the same pattern.
2.
I just knew he was going to hit that yellow at the last resort. Fluke snooker. Now 4 pots away from what would be an extraordinary victory, because he's played this decider very badly indeed, and yet he's still got the chance to snatch it.
Nine. Fourteen.
Talk about riding your luck.
20.
by 4 frames to 3. Sportsmanlike from Neil Robertson, shaking his hand, smiling, saying well done. The Welsh amateur prevails. But please don't ask me how. I've got no idea. Logic went out of the window in that last frame. He played a terrible decider. He made one mistake after the next. In the end, though, a succession of Robertson mistakes. And ultimately, an extraordinary piece of good fortune, fluking a snooker out of a snooker. And we have the biggest upset, I think, of the tournament so far. Well, that's all rounded off rather nicely because Mark Selby is through with a 4-0 win over Marco Fu. He will now play Ali Carter in the semi-finals, Carter beating Joe Perry 4-1. Andrew Pagget has beaten Neil Robertson 4-3, ending Robertson's 11-match winning run in PTCs. He won 7 of them, spaced over a couple of months in qualifying and then in the main event in Poland.